A very warm welcome to you, my viewers. This is the Marriage Corner Show, and as always, I am your host, Viona Gethenji. Today we are at Red Hill in Limuru with our guests, and this is a couple that has been together for quite a while. They do have a beautiful story, I believe. I'm yet to hear it like you. But as we wait for them to tell us about their story, I will ask them please to introduce themselves so that we may get to know them a little bit better as we start the show. Karibuni sana.
Thank you.
You can introduce yourselves, tell us who you are, and at least what you do for a living.
All right. My name is Chris Wainaina. I am a lawyer by profession. Basically, I help people access justice. A simple way, yeah.
Okay.
My name is Njambi Wainaina. Married, of course, to Chris Wainaina. Currently, I'm running my own company called Miliki Properties Limited. So technically, you can say I'm the managing director. It's a real estate company where we buy big chunks of land, subdivide and sell. And also we buy land and build houses for sale. Or at times if you have land, we can build it for you. So you contract us to build your dream home. So in a nutshell, that's what Miliki Properties does.
Nice. That's something. We will get to that in a bit. But before we go too far into the careers, you guys, where did you start? And by where did you start, like where and when did you meet? I'll ask you, Chris, to take us through that one.
We both met at Egerton University. I started my studies there in 1999, graduated around 2004. She joined in 2005. So what happened? I was a leader in the Christian church. That particular time, we used to call it chapel. And during the time that after I graduated, I took about 1 year of service before I went to other forms of employment. And it's during that period of service when I was basically leading the church that they joined in 2005. That's the first time that we got to meet within the fellowship setting. Just the same way you meet with everybody else, nothing special, nothing unique at that particular time. And then the actual story of dating and marriage and relationship started around 2009 when I had already left the school. I think she was about to, you were in 4th year or so?
Joining 4th year.
Yeah, joining 4th year. So I guess the hardships of life makes you realize you can't get a girl out here. And you're thinking, where else do I go back to? So I think I remembered I had identified a lady many years ago in a certain place. And I guess I started making my trips there occasionally every now and then, because I was residing in Nairobi. She was in school in Nakuru. And that's where basically we would say our story started. But in terms of the first interaction was when she joined in 2005, and I was serving as a pastor basically in pastoral roles the same year. Yeah.
All right. So this guy is making trips from Nairobi to Nakuru. Are you aware he's making them for you? Or he's just coming to serve?
Well, it wasn't unusual. As he has said, we met when I was a first year in Egerton University. And it was a regular thing. Like, he'd come visit almost everybody. So he'd come visit and then he'd interact with the people that he was used to. So even as he's pursuing me in 4th year, it had not dawned on me that he's pursuing me. He was just coming as a friend. We'd been friends for 3 or 4 years now. We're going to the 4th year, so it was a regular thing. Yes. Yeah.
So when did the spark start flying? Chris, okay, you'd already identified this is the girl, so your intentions are clear. When did it start being clear to you, Njambi, that, okay, this is not just another regular campus visit?
Well, I guess now when he started pursuing me and asking whether we date and get into a relationship. I was warming up to the idea. And then the fact that, yes, now I'm clearing school, you're like, this is ideal for me because I'd known him for all these years. So it was easier in warming up to the idea that, yes, I would date Chris.
You didn't have other plans, like when you clear school, girls want to clear school, get a job, date, get married. You didn't have that plan?
Of course I did. So I started dating when I was in 4th year, so I hadn't cleared school. So it was more of, yes, we're already friends, so we are now starting to date and warming up to the idea that he's a nice guy. So it's not like that I was dating him for marriage at that particular time, because I was still a student. Yes, so we dated when I was in 4th year. I started dating when I was in the 4th year. After I cleared, I got a job. My first job was at Chase Bank, Thika branch. I come from Thika. So when I went back home, Chase Bank was just setting up, so a few of us got a job there. So yeah, so we were still dating, and then now finally we were like, you know what, I already have a job. I've cleared campus and graduated. Why not get married? You know?
Okay.
You know?
Why not? Why not? Okay. Why not anyway? Then do you immediately, no, how long is this now? How long did it take for you to clear school and get to the why not part?
I graduated in December. Was it December? Yeah, December 2009. Got married in May 2010.
Okay.
Yes.
5 months.
Yes.
Chris.
Yes.
5 months.
We don't have
You're
room to
forgetting
waste
the
time.
year. You're forgetting there was a year of dating as well.
Huh?
So yeah.
Okay.
And there was friendship there before.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So did it take you the 5 months to plan the wedding, or is this something that you had started planning earlier?
Actually, we would have gotten married on April.
In April, yeah.
Before that would have been 4 months. But then, for some reasons, cultural-related reasons, we ended up marrying a month later. But the thing is this: there is a common way people date. I think more westernized than any. I think I'm a typical Kikuyu. So if I was not a Christian, maybe by the time she was clearing university, she would have come to my house directly. Rather than, because you already know the person you want to get married to. So these nitty-gritties of 1 year, 2 years and all that, I don't think that was our story. Yeah, she knew who she wanted to get married. I knew I wanted to get married. So the only thing was to get a date and organize the wedding, and we did it within a quick time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why her? What is it that made her the ideal girl? You'd already left school and seen hundreds, if not thousands of girls. Why did you go back to her?
I think some of these things you can't tell why they happen. They are more natural. You are more inclined to certain people other than other people. Because the first time I noticed her was like in that 2005. Yeah, she had just joined the university, and I was in a leadership role. And somehow in my mind, in as much as I had noticed her, there is nothing much I would have done at that particular time. I mean, it would look like I'm doing Gold Rush together with the rest of the students. Yeah, but I remember we had met for some prayer meeting in a pavilion, in an open space, an open field. So I'm the one who was facilitating the prayer meeting, and I was telling them what they needed to do. Then she came late. So she was not a serious Christian that particular time. But you see, I noticed her, but my level of Christianity at that particular day and her seriousness could not go together. She had to be given time to mature as a Christian. So by 2009, I think she had matured, or I figured out she may never mature eventually. So I might just as well marry her and walk towards the journey of maturity as a Christian.
All right.
I remember asking him the same question, why me? And he wrote an amazing poem and filed it in an album. I still have that to date.
Okay.
To date, I have it, yes.
I used to be a poet then, but
an
not
amazing,
anymore.
amazing poem.
I can't bring
couldn't
myself to
believe
write
it.
anything anymore. The only thing I
Let me
write
tell
is
you.
demand notes and those things, and agreements.
For quotes, eh?
Yeah, and courts, petitions and all that. Nothing else. The romance disappeared along the way.
Oh, Lord.
Of,
Njambi,
Yeah.
can you remember what the note said? Why you?
He wrote a lot. Oh my goodness! Just as he's saying that his mind and his heart was settled, and that's what he was looking for. Just the ideal. I don't know. Yeah, basically what he has said. Let me not
All right.
dilute it. What he has said. Yeah.
And why did you settle for him? You had a choice to say, there must be some other men you had seen.
True. I don't know. He felt good enough. You know, he had all the qualities that I would have been looking for. All right. I am light. I know this is cliche. I am light and I get a lot of attention. So I was looking for. I was saying, I would want a dark guy. I was always in heels. Always when I didn't have babies and I was lighter, like very, very high ones, not like these ones. And I'd say I'd want my husband to be taller than me even when I had heels on. He fit it perfectly. He was my friend, as in we connected from the word go when I was a first year. I felt like, you know the way he's mentioned something about the gold rush? You know when you're a first year, the fourth years want to take advantage, the third years of course, and everyone. And I felt there was a shield of protection when it came to Chris. You know, and most of us being at chapel, we felt like now leadership was provided for us. I usually say I would have been a different person if it weren't for chapel. And some of the friends that I got to have and interact with in Egerton and chapel are still some of my very close friends to date. So it kind of molded me, and I found very many people that were able to provide guidance and become, you know, like a pillar in your life. Because at that time you're lost. You know, you're lost. You're from high school. You're used to, you know, being told what to do, but then now you're in campus and you actually have to tell yourself, I will do this. You're at liberty, you know. Anything goes. You want to attend school, the fact that it's a public uni, nobody really cares. And it kind of provided that shield and guidance. And he was a very key person. And we connected from the word go. So it's not like we are coming to connect now when I've cleared campus and we are dating now.
You forgot to say I'm very romantic.
Oh, he is. Oh my God, he is.
To date.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, when he wants to. No, but he is. He's bought me flowers. He's even sang. Yeah. We even have a photo. You've sung for me in Kikuyu.
Oh, I did.
You
Which
did.
song?
I can't remember.
Oh.
But you did. You did.
So I'm typically romantic, the Kikuyu way, not
The Kikuyu way, yes. The Kikuyu way, which is awesome. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. I love it. I love it.
He mentioned something about the maturity journey in Christianity. How is that faring so far? Up to,
I don't know why he felt I am not mature enough in Christianity.
You don't get
just
late for a
that.
prayer meeting, surely.
It's just that
Serious prayer meeting.
the hostels I was living in were quite far. Mine were the farthest. I was living in Taton, Nairobi hostels. And I remember it was really far. So I was coming with my pal. I can't even remember who it was. We were coming. So by the time we got to the pavilion, other guys had already gathered and they were in a meeting setup. So now that's why we got late. But anyway, yeah, that's why we got late.
Okay, you see, it's not the first time to get late. She has always been late, either way. So,
Okay.
Don't say always. I am not always.
so a serious Christian, according to me that time, probably even to date, should not be late for certain things, like prayers.
Prayer meetings. How can you be late for a prayer meeting?
I don't know how.
But I think it has to do with the fact that he was a leader with expectations.
True, but he couldn't have noticed me if I didn't go late.
So,
So it actually
okay.
worked
It was
out.
worth it, yeah.
It was worth it. So it actually worked out.
But I think at the end of the day, one of the things that becomes a reality is I look back at that particular time and I'm thinking, it must have been a very foolish thing of me to think she was not serious that particular day just because she was late. You know, I mean, it's not a measure of maturity or anything looking back. But at the end of the day, it forms the part of our marriage story, part of our relationship story. So
like
she's
in
still
high
not a
school-
serious Christian.
No, but in high school, I was a leader in CU. So you can imagine, it's not like I'm getting into Christianity when I was in campus. Yeah. But yes, as he said, it actually, that's the beginning of our story.
Yes.
Yes, that's the beginning
That's why it's
of our
special
story.
and I think important.
Yes. Yes.
So you get married and we move and the babies come in.
Yes, 2 years later, the baby starts coming. Initially, guys actually thought I'm getting married because I'm pregnant.
Oh.
Because they didn't understand why the rush. But then I didn't see the need of why wait. You've already found the person that you want to get married to, so what are you waiting for? So yeah, so many guys thought,
I think she should tell you, during our wedding day, you see that walk down the aisle? It took her less than a minute. And she just walked, marched all the way to the pastor as fast as she could be. It's like she was running to get married.
Okay.
So I think we've always done our things as fast as we can. But as she's saying, sometimes when you're doing things that fast, people can easily mistake.
True.
Why are you getting married this fast?
Yeah.
And then they wait, then they don't get a baby. Then of course maybe someone would think maybe she aborted or something.
Yeah.
But we are not getting married because of any other reason. It's just that if it's time to do something, just do it. And I guess for us, one of the hallmark of our work together is the idea of being prompt. What needs to be done needs to be done. You know, for example, if our child start looking like they don't have energy, we don't wait until they start coughing or they start, showing certain signs of illness for you to attend to them.
Yeah.
As in, you act on it because you know your child is jumpy. So the moment the child is not jumpy, you know something is not right.
True.
Unfortunately, some people take so long that it end up developing into other more serious things. So for us, it's that thing of being prompt, being able to do things when it's supposed to be done, not waiting until, it's inevitable. It has to be done, maybe because it's an urgent matter, or it's a crisis. Yeah.
Okay. But you waited 2 years to have your first baby. Or your baby came 2 years later.
The baby came 2 years later. We had been discussing and saying we wouldn't mind getting to know each other and enjoy just the two of us. And then the baby would come after 2 years. And sure enough, it's not like that we planned it. We were just saying. And true to it, the baby came 2 years later. So we got Shani. It's a boy. Amazing boy. In 2012. That's April 5th. He came on April 5th, 2012. That was our first baby. Amazing journey. Enjoyed every minute of my pregnancy. Enjoyed every bit of raising him and everything. After 2 years, 4 months, the second one came. It's called Safi. All of them are light boys.
Okay.
Yes, he came in September 12th. That's 2014. Then the third one is Wema. Wema came in 2016. May 17th. So those are our 3 boys.
I like the way she has the details. Chris, do you know those dates like that?
No, I don't think they're important.
No,
Clear.
I only keep in my mind what is important. All the others, it's not necessary.
Sawa wakili. All right, so the baby is coming, and would you say that journey from 2010 getting married, right, to the babies coming in up to 2016 Did that change you, coming from being single and enjoying yourselves to 3 babies in 6 years? Did that alter anything in you? Like Chris, did that change you in any way?
Now you see the role changes. Now you're no longer serving the role of a husband only. You are both a husband and a father. So I guess for me, what it means is that there have been a tendency to be more of the father than the husband. So you're putting a lot of effort and a lot of energy on your children, probably more than you're doing on your spouse. I think for me, it's the challenge of striking that balance in the long run. Yeah.
And for you, Mommy, how has that changed you, or did it change you?
Of course, now the focus, as you say, the focus now moves from just being the two of us, that we would do things and just focusing on just the two of us. But now there are small people coming into your life, and they need not 10% of your attention, they need 100% of your attention. So your focus shifts, and of course trying to balance the two becomes a bit of a challenge. But now the fact that he still is a very active dad, so it lessens the role. Yes, I'm giving my 100%, he's also giving his 100%, but then the fact that it is shared, both shared, the weight is lighter. Like, he was very active when they had diapers on. Like, at times when I'm tired, he didn't have to look for me to go change the baby.
Not when you're tired, always.
Or yeah, it's his baby that he would actually change the diaper. It wasn't for him to put so much effort to take care of the boys to date, right? So it was a shared role for the two of us, that we were both parents to these babies. If they needed anything, they didn't know, they didn't need to say that this is mommy's role, this is daddy's role, that all of us would step in and meet their need. So yeah, so it wasn't, I can't say it was a tough journey. It's not a tough journey. We've both enjoyed parenting those 3 boys. They are amazing and very disciplined, and I'm truly proud of them. Yes.
So 11 years later, we are talking of a journey that started 11 plus 4-5 years. So your friendship is that old.
Yeah.
But in this time, let's say 15-16 years of knowing each other, being together, has there been a storm in your boat? You guys seem very cordial, very relaxed in your relationship, but has there been, a storm in your boat that rocked you real hard that you can talk about today?
I think one of the things that we need probably to clarify for most of the people who are married is that there doesn't have to have a storm for a marriage to kind of go full circle.
Wow.
There seems to be this kind of an understanding in the society that if there is no drama, then it's not real. Which in a way is a misrepresentation of the institution of marriage. Yeah. There are reasons why people get into certain dramas and to certain marriage crises, And one of the things, like, for us, we've had to do along the way is to ask ourselves of the things that are important to us, so that we are able to know how to negotiate the different things that life throws at us. And one of the things that probably has been a highlight, maybe to put it that way, is the idea of what we call the irreducible minimums, yeah, where we say, I've narrowed my expectations to bare minimums, yeah. Initially, when we got into marriage, you have this very, very high expectation of the other spouse on every single role. Yeah. And then you take time to think through, and you realize, for example, she mentioned something to do with 100%. I would expect, as a typical maybe African man or Kikuyu man, my expectation would be that it's her duty and her responsibility to take care of the children, which would include cook for them, change their diapers and all that. But the truth of the matter is, along the way you realize that your role of parenting is not a 50-50 shared role. It's 100%. So whatever I am supposed to give to my children is 100%, whatever she's supposed to give is 100%. Yeah? And that runs everywhere else. So when it comes to something like finances, you feel that you're supposed to have your separate account, or even a joint account, which is, for us, is not necessarily the model that we follow. What we did, as in the process of mentoring other couples, it started occurring to us that what we have learned in our work is what we need to transmit to them. And one of the things that stood out was the fact that we've reduced our expectation of each other to the bare minimum. My expectation of her is that Angalau, if she bathes, those basic things is enough for me. If she brushes her teeth, those are bare minimums. That's what I'm trying to put across, that I don't get offended because she has not cooked. I know I have expectation that my wife will cook or my wife will do something. Okay? What happens when I go home and I find it has not been done? I tell myself, before she came, was I eating? Before she came, was the bed being made by me? If that was happening, then I don't mind just going to the kitchen and doing my own food, whether she's there or not. It's a bare minimal thing to expect someone to be doing things that you are capable of doing yourself. Yeah? I do what I'm capable of doing myself, and therefore my expectation of what she's supposed to do becomes minimal. To a point that now she would feel, no, I am supposed to be cooking. My husband is not supposed to be doing it. So when she does it, for me, it's an extra. I would look at it as an extra, not as a right. You get?
Yes.
If she changes the diaper of the children, I know it's her motherly role, but I also know it's my fatherly role. Okay? So for me, those days, if the baby would have a wet diaper, I would not be seated somewhere thinking my wife needs to go and do this, whether it's even in front of people, in public. Now, I know a lot of people would feel, no, you're not supposed to do things this way. But do you know, that approach for me is the one that has made us not have drama for the last 10 years. I've told people it takes a very, very long time for us to have even a quarrel or a fight. There is a time it would even go for like 3 years. You've never had something to fight over. Reason being, I only need to do the bare minimum. Okay? From her. I only expect from her the bare minimum. May I do my best. Okay? To date, I do my best. It may not necessarily be the best for her. You know, the things I am not capable of doing, by now, it is very, very clear to her. Hii hata nifanye nini, hatafanya. You know, it takes a lot of energy for me to wake up and go and buy flowers. So if I did that, that is like like buying a jet for her. That's how much energy it would have taken me to do some of those things. You get? Yeah. So what do you think she will do? She no longer has expectations of me buying flowers. Hatuwezi pigana over Valentine's ama over something because she knows it just does not come naturally. So when I do it, it means I have done much more than my bare minimum. So basically we use that principle of bare minimum. Do what, expect your spouse to do the bare. You know, zile lazima hii yenyewe, if you don't do this, you've gone overboard. You know, if you don't bathe, surely, that's a bare minimum, as in you've gone overboard. But then, dressing fancy, now that's an extra. Bora mwili iko covered. You know, as long as you are not showing nakedness, that's enough for me. I'm not expecting you to dress in a certain way. Bora umevaa nguo. So we will never quarrel. If she woke up and decided to wear a mini skirt up to this point, me, I'm not worried. If she wore a mokorino dress up to this point, I am not worried. If she walks with a bikini, I am not worried. Bora needs a bare minimum. At least akona kitu amevaa. Imenitosha. That's the idea basically.
Wow. Okay.
So you don't have to fight.
Yeah, true.
We've had this conversation. You also choose the battles that you want to fight over. Yeah? And with things like to do with food, that's not a battle we fight. Yeah? Things to do with who is supposed to do what to the children. That's not a battle you want to fight. Things to, as in there are a lot of things you don't necessarily have to fight over. You know you have probably a right to raise an issue, but you choose not to. That's why the drama part of it, the storm part of it, that's how you control the storm before it's even become a storm. Because you know these parameters are within your control.
Yeah.
You decide whether to get angry to your spouse or not. And sometimes when I am angry, I decide to deal with my anger separately until I cool down wherever, rather than coming and blowing up on with her.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And for you, Njambi, I love that approach, the bare minimum approach.
Irreducible minimums.
Reducible minimum.
Yes.
To the really less.
That's the only expectation.
For you, he has said that for him, he takes his time, boils over nahuko, then he comes back and you guys are now able to handle. For you, what works? What works? The same principle works for you, or do you mimi ni saa hii iishi alafu tuendelee? What is it like for you?
As he has said, I learned about the irreducible minimum from him definitely. I also don't blow up. I keep quiet, I cool off, I finish, then now we can have a conversation. As we mentioned earlier, we work together. So we do a lot of consultation and a lot of just discussing issues to do with either home or office, and we have to have these discussions, and decisions have to be made by the two of us. So since that has already been said, so it becomes even easier when we have an issue to sit down and discuss whatever issue we are having, and it has to be in a cool way, of course, because even as we are making decisions concerning either the family or our businesses or the office, it has to be done by the two of us. So both of us have to be at a place of where we are objective and ready to, make a decision together. So that has worked for us.
All right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. We are going to take a very short break, and when we come back, Chris and Njambi will take us through the mentorship. He has mentioned that they do mentor couples, so we will go through that, or he will take us through that, and we might get to learn more about this irreducible minimum from them. So we will be back in a while, guys. Welcome back. We are here with Chris and Njambi Wainaina. And like I told you guys, we are going now to go a little bit into what Chris mentioned about mentoring. I happen to be privy to the fact that he has been doing this for quite a while. And so before I preempt on that, allow me to go straight to Chris and tell him, or else allow him to tell us about the mentorship programs that you've been running.
For the last 20-something years, we've been having a men's mentorship program called Cadets Men Fellowship. It's a forum where men are able to interact with one another, basically sharpen one another. And we have different generations of men. We have the married, the singles, the younger ones, and all that. But basically within that forum now, we have different aspects of mentorship. And for example, one of the forums, we have men who are about to get married. Advice and interaction with them. Kind of like we have a structured way where those who are not married know there are men who are married that they can look up to. From within that group, you look at the men who you have more affinity with, who you are more likely to relate with, and you start interacting with them in matters, basically institution of marriage and all that. That's one way we just focus on the men, basically. Issues related to men and marriage, men and the rest of their life, income generation and all that. But then we also do mentorship program under our church called PMCC, Premarital Counseling Classes. That's a 10 lessons forum happening every week for 10 weeks, where you deal with different aspects of marriage. Sometimes you're dealing with foundations of marriage. Other times you're dealing with in-laws, how to deal with the matters related to in-laws. You deal with parenting, you deal with sex in marriage, you deal with conflict in marriage, and different topics. And we volunteer in that particular program, and we participate in different, depending on the topic that is allocated to us. So that's how we do our counseling. And then there are instances that now a specific couple wants to come to you because they're having issues in their marriage. So you deal with it as per the relationship or as per the specific couple.
Right. If I may refer to the Cadets Men Fellowship, you said it's been there for more than 20 years.
Yes.
What made you start this, or how did it even start?
In terms of starting, it was not intended to stay this long. It's just those things that comes into life, and then it has a life of its own. So it was born in college. I remember there's a pastor, he was called Pastor Bomet, Reverend Bomet, who was preaching. We were seated in a hall, and I couldn't just even rest. He was talking about impacting the society in one or the other, and I felt that I needed to come back home. That was in Nakuru. I needed to come back home and basically impact on the society. That particular time, my focus was the youth, and youth in this case was the men and the women. So we started something. We started with acting and dancing and artistic activities. But then over and above the artistic work that we were doing that time, we ended up being more of a fellowship where you are meeting with a common goal of worshiping God. And then now as time went by, you realize that it's more than a fellowship, it's a social kind of a club. There are a lot of social aspects that you need to constantly address and constantly interact over, so that you are able to build relationships that are long lasting. So some of these social things would be, you have a bereaved family, you wanted to support that particular person. Someone has a wedding, the person needed to feel that they have a backup of people who are supporting them. Someone has the normal events that we have in life, and you wanted to come on board and someone feels that you have people who support you. So that's how it has been. Eventually it has evolved. There is the worshipping aspect, there is the social supports kind of a structure, and then there is now the mentorship aspect that we are currently involved in at different capacities. And yes, over time we also had the Women Fellowship and the Men Fellowship. The Men Fellowship has withstood the test of time. The women, because of getting married and many other reasons, ended up basically being swallowed by life. Most of the women we started with got married, and when you get married, you relocate and all that. But the men one, we have generations after generations that have withstood the test of time. Yeah.
Wow, that's encouraging to think of, if I may call it so, an institution that just deals with men.
Yes.
And I happen to know that this is based in Gashie.
We've grown. We have now 3 fellowships. The original one is still based in Gashie. We have another one that is based in Ruaka right now. Basically, we used to move house to house until COVID came. So we would go as far, our reach would go as far as Kenyatta Road. We have members of our fellowship from Kenyatta Road. We have a lot of them in Kiambu Road. We have the other fellowship in Riverori. Our reach is now wide. We have 3 fellowships that happen every Monday.
All right.
Yeah.
Looking back, in these 20 years that you've been part of this fellowship, what is that one thing that you can say, yeah, this is why this thing was started, like looking back?
The thing is this, what stands for me is leadership, basically. We've been able to transition from one leader to the other without a hitch and all that. But above all is we've been able to mentor people in the area of leadership that actually they are leading in different areas. For example, you would be surprised that the use of projectors and audiovisual in churches started with us. If you see a church, even the All Saint Cathedral in Nairobi, all those churches, the origin of use of audiovisual to enhance worship was basically our idea. That is basically in most of these rural churches. We started with us. Most of the praise and worship leaders of the churches in this area, I would probably tell you they originated from us, or they have been from our mentorship. Kamau Karongo was one of our leaders. He ended up mentoring so many of them. They ended up facilitating worship in their different churches. So in terms of leadership, the one thing that has stood out of that fellowship is that aspect of leadership, being able to transition from one generation to the other, and also being able to impact the different members of the body of Christ in different areas from leaders who have been mentored through us. But the second thing is the social support aspect of the fellowship. For people to feel just supported. You know, we are a peri-urban area, and most of the people who are coming here have left their families in different places. Sure. So you have people who are coming from Nakuru, people who are coming from Kisii and all these other places. When you get here, you want a place where you are supported socially. Yeah? And that's what we've been providing for people. If you're bereaved, you know you are not alone. If you are having a wedding, you know there are people who are taking care of things, both financially and in terms of just support. So those are the two things that really stands out with us. And I know maybe some of the things that you've heard maybe in the public sphere is how excellent our worship can be. Yeah.
All right. For sure, I can attest that Cadets Men Fellowship is a force to reckon with in these parts of Kiambu. Where do you come in all this? How does this fit into your program and all that, Njambi?
I've not been part of Cadets. Even as the women were meeting, they disintegrated and I was never part of it. But everybody assumed that I've been part of Cadets all through. I love hosting. I love hosting so much and I enjoy that. So the fact that now they visit Chris now because he's their leader or was the founding
pioneer leader.
He was the pioneer leader. Then they all know that my house is open, you know, and they are welcome to visit. So my kids have gotten to interact with all these guys. The fact that they are boys, they've managed, you know, enough times Chris carries them and they get to enjoy the fellowship because these guys now, the fact that they are fathers, are trying to, you know, they are mentoring their kids to one day take over, you know, because this thing is not ending anytime soon, you know. So, yeah, and our kids get very excited. They've made friends, they've made, you know, they actually feel like some of the children within the fellowship, they're their brothers and their sisters. The fact that they don't have a sister, they've adopted, you know, each other into, you know, this bigger family. So that's amazing. I've made so many friends right now from Cadets. At times they would even call me up and yeah, we take coffee or they come visit me in the office, you know. So we've made very, you know, good and amazing friendships from just this group. So yeah.
Okay. Over to the PMCC, the premarital counseling classes. You said it's a 10-week program, and I'm wondering, other than taking the 10 weeks that you guys volunteer to take people through, what else do you do as premarital counselors? Or else, let me ask it this way, what is that one thing for you as premarital counselors that you have to insist on for any couple that's getting into marriage? other than the classes themselves? You know, the classes are like a program. It has to be done. But for you, what is that one thing that has to stand out in every premarital course?
I think for us, the fact that we do it as a class in a class setup, that, you know, 5 to 10 couples sign up for the classes, and assuming we are assigned a topic to share, we usually share our own life experience. We share our life story and tell people that if it's about the extended family, we share how it has been for us to blend this together. What are the expectations? What are the responsibilities? What are some of the things that we've seen in as far as we are relating to our extended family, and what we've learned over time to relate with. So we share our own personal experiences, and that has been more impactful than just reading the material, because now people are even able to ask questions that they are going through right now as even they are quoting. And we also get to learn a few things, because you see, we are from the same culture. So now when we get to see people who are from different cultures coming together, you get to hear their stories and just share what are some of the things that probably we face that are similar, and how we overcame that hurdle. How did we deal with it in as far as that was concerned? So sharing our life experiences has been more impactful. We don't tell people what to do. All right, because as Chris mentioned, this is not black and white. We choose our own path. All right, and that has molded us and provided, you know, we basically are the ones who decided this is the path we will take as a couple, and it has worked for us. It might not work for someone else. All right, so I think it's the role of the two people to come together and say that this is the path that we will take. All right, we are just providing guidance and providing just information. Yeah.
I would put it this way. You're talking about 10 topics. Each topic has its own unique thing that stands out. But the summary of it all is this. Marriage is kind of like a canvas. Yeah? It's like an artist with a canvas where they are making a choice on what to draw. You decide what form of art you're going to put in place. You only have these materials to paint, you know, to do the artwork as you want to do it. And so the artwork that I choose with my spouse is not necessarily the artwork that you'll choose with your spouse, yeah? We may choose to draw the skies and the space up there. Someone else will choose to do the artwork of trees. Someone else will choose to do the artwork of animals, you know. Other people do what is called, you know, the unique, unknown, you know, imaginary, abstract stuff, yeah? And that's basically how marriage turns out. When you come to me, I'll give you my experience, but it may not necessarily work for you. When you go to other couples, you give them your experience, it may not work for them. There are those basic things that works for every marriage. You know, the principles of marriage, and like the principle of, let's say, consent, you know, capacity and all that. But at the end of the day, you draw what you want in this canvas that you've been given by God. Yeah? When I come and look at it, I may think this is too abstract for me. It doesn't make sense for me. But the abstract art, you take it somewhere else, it becomes the most valuable form of art. Yeah? When I draw it in a certain way, someone will look at it and say, no. I don't get it, you know. But because I'm the artist, I'm the one who understands how it is. And I guess that's, at the end of the day, is what matters. What you've been given by God, how do you carve out your art? How do you paint it? How do you draw it? How do you come out with something unique out of the materials that you've been given?
Nice. And now if I may choose a topic, finances, at least that I know is level for everyone. Yes. How have you guys managed to not make finances an issue in your family? Now that these are two salaries, you know, or these are two incomes, how have you made it not an issue?
I think finances is always an issue for all marriages. In terms of, I am yet to meet a marriage where money is enough at any given point. Okay. So it's always an issue. I think the question is how to prioritize the different things within that particular marriage. And so for us, we've number one, you don't have each of us has their own separate account for different stuff that you want to do separately. But we operate from the company's account. So most of our expenses are expenses related to the company's account. Most of our income is income related to the company's account. However, this is my observation. There will never come a time where you would say that with these limited resources, our priorities are exactly the same. It's always this issue of, I know this is what is a priority for me, this is what is a priority for you, this is the limited resources, and when I allow you your priority to go ahead and get financed by those limited resources, it doesn't mean that my priority is invalid. You know, there are times that you have to just take a back seat with the things that you thought are a priority and allow somebody else to, you know, have their priority. For example, her hair is not my priority. Okay? And there are times that we have a limited amount of money and she will go do her hair. Am I supposed to quarrel because of that? At the end of the day, you cannot quarrel because it is so important for her that what is important for her ought to be important for me, in as much as I may not feel like it's a priority. Her nails are not a priority for me, yeah? But you see, it's very, very important for her. I think that understanding is very, very important when it comes to dealing with finances. The fact that it will never be enough. Today you'll be wanting a million. Once you get it, you now want 10 million. So we know that it will never be enough. Having known that, then the next question is, what do we prioritize? We also know that when we are making a decision on what our priorities, we may not necessarily have consensus. Okay? So then we go to the next question is, now that we cannot have a consensus on this matter, what is the bare minimum that needs to be addressed? Food is a basic thing, yeah? Whatever the situation, it has to be addressed. But you know the funny thing, even that be a basic thing, you still find yourself having to ask yourself, is bluebird a very important thing? Yes. For our children, it's it's a basic thing. Yeah. You can quarrel over bread, you know. So you get to a point again, you ask yourself, if you won't die for not having this, then maybe let's deal with the ones that you will die if you don't finance it, you know. So there is that constant tension that we've agreed, this is part and parcel of our finances. It will always be there. We will always have a limited resources, and we'll always have divergent needs. But in that point of divergence, that tension, we will always have to manage it as time goes by in this marriage. And that happens because, like, for me, there are times maybe she would want to go and have her hair fixed, and I want to have the car fixed. Yeah? So what do? The resources are this limited. Sometimes you just decide, wacha nywele itengenezwe, tunaweza tumia matatu. Ukitumia matatu uchoke, utarealize hata hiyo nywele haikuwa nini muhimu. Ikivurutanishwa na makanga ndio utajua gari ilikuwa muhimu. So the next time you're having that debate, utasema wacha tutengenezewe gari. Now that you can't put on your high heel anymore and you can't keep your hair for more than a week because of using a public transport, then you realize that is a priority. But then on the other end, you will have the car fixed. Then you go somewhere and you are looking at your wife and you are thinking, oh, no. Hii image yenyewe is not what I would want to present to as my spouse. So you again now prioritize. So it's a tension that I think will constantly be there in life.
Njambi, you said sometimes you have to die, to just die and let the others' priorities take preeminence. Are there times for you that you've just had to die and let his priorities take charge?
Definitely. As he mentioned, what is important for him should be important for me, right? So at times you're like, you know what? this car, like give an example between the car and my hair, which has never happened, FYI. Of course I would choose the car, because we're using this car to drop the boys, you know. And I know by the time you're making a decision, it's not from a selfish point of view. It's from a point of, I love this person, and when he's asking for this amount, he's not doing it maliciously. You get? So at times, there are times, by the way, I would withdraw money, and he's not even asking, or either I would ask for money from him, and he would not even ask, what is that money for? You get? He would also withdraw money, and he would go sort out something. I do not need, personally, I don't feel the need to ask him, what is that money for? Because I know the far that we've come for 11 years, none of us has ever mismanaged the money. All right? So the decision is made from a point of, I love this person, and the decisions that he's making as far as finances are concerned is from a point of, I love my family and I'm doing this for my family. I'm going to the salon because I want to look good. Of course, it's for my family, you know. Yeah, so basically it's from a point of love and a point of, we've already had structures put in place. All right? There are times our accounts are either to sign. So there are times that I would need to sort out something. Yes, we're in the same office, but then there are times we would both need to sort out different things at the same time, right? So we don't even have to go to the bank together to sort out something. Yeah. That he's trusted me enough to know that the way he would sort out an issue, I would be able to sort it out. And for me, the same thing, that I have that faith in him that the way I would have done A, B, C, D as far as finances are concerned, or whatever decision that I need to make, that he's capable enough to make the same decision for the family.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're saying, you guy, you've never withdrawn money and went with the boys. Now you're with Njambi, your sister yake. It was just you. You guys have not been there. It was just you. Wachana na mambo ya boys na Njambi. It's just you guy.
With my friends?
Uh-huh.
I think it has never happened, interesting enough. I think because of always being at the point of lack. I'm yet to be wealthy to a point where I would really want to have that experience. At withdraw pesa and then you are going for a road
Maldives,
trip somewhere or something.
Yeah.
I would want to get that experience. But I think when you're always working from a point of insufficient funds, when you're always looking at that ATM receipt and you know it's either near to zero or you know it's on freezer mode, I think you get to a point you realize, my priorities have to be right at all times. You know, since there are times we used to borrow the money, what do you call them, the mobile lenders.
Yeah.
I used to get from Equity like
150?
Yes.
No, 250.
Around 250. My what's this other? Kina Mshwari Fuliza is 23,000. Mshwari, you know that if I decided to borrow within an instance, I could easily raise like 800,000. Hash used to get about 400,000 from MKCB. I don't know what. And then we realized these two things are making us get into a situation where you've borrowed, you know you are doing it over the phone, but of course your spouse will not know. And then you spend it on different stuff. Then wakati mtapata pesa, wewe priority yako ni kulipa deni. But priority yake, already she's thinking about a different need, maybe something like rent or something else. So you see, you have a choice to confess that you have a mobile loan that needs to be paid or something. I had to delay payments until they got blocked. You know, to a point that right now the only thing I can borrow from is Fuliza. I can't even borrow from Mshwari and all that. And for me, that's liberty. That's deliverance of some sort. She again also, we also made sure she is blocked. We would want to go back there, but
No, I'm not blocked. I can still borrow, but I chose not
they can really break a marriage so easily, because you will constantly find yourself having to repay something, even sometimes to an extent of borrowing from this to repay this, borrowing from the other to repay that other one. We don't want to be in those situations. So I think part of the secret is trying as much as possible to live within within our means or something.
Yeah.
But again, it still doesn't work, because our means still are not sufficient to meet all our needs. So knowing that in itself is liberating in such a way that you constantly have to manage the little that you have, even knowing that even after managing it, it's still not sufficient. Yeah.
All right. We are really coming to the end, and wow, I wish we could go on like this, because there are a few examples I wanted to ask about, but all the same, what does the future look like in terms of marriage for you guys? But I'll ask you, Njambi, what does the future look like for you 5-10 years from today? Where do you think you guys will be?
Our kids will be teenagers, right? And I remember earlier on in our marriage, we used to say that by the time our kids are almost adults, we'd want to have retired and travel, you know?
We would want to travel the world, now that it will be an empty nest kind of a thing.
Yeah.
The children are maturing, they are in college and all that.
Yeah.
But of course it takes resources.
True.
But for me, when someone asks that issue of where do you think you'll be in like 10 years, for me, my first response is that there are no guarantees.
Sure.
You know, for any marriage.
Sure.
We've seen marriages that have been working so well, but they still break down 10, 20 years later, you know. And it's not that those people have done anything wrong. It's just that the reality of life is very unpredictable, to an extent that you are never too sure of what the future holds for you, in as much as you know you can really work so hard to carve out a good future. So the first point is that we know we don't have guarantees that the marriage will be there. However, we also know that we have a part to play on whether it will survive or not. And so what we are doing today is putting that extra effort for it to survive. Not necessarily for just 10 years, but maybe for a lifetime, if God grants us that. And so we work on it with fear and trembling. Yeah? You realize that there is nothing like Christian marriage versus the other marriages. Marriages are just simply marriages.
Yeah.
And so we keep our eyes on the prize. We focus on the ultimate goal of a lifetime commitment together. But then we also focus, or rather we also let our eyes look at the things that are making other marriages not stand, so that if possible we are able to avoid them. Yeah? Marriages will not stand maybe because finances put a stretch to them, so we try as much as possible to manage it. Marriages do not survive because of infidelity, so we try as much as possible to walk the thin and the narrow path. Marriage do not survive because of in-laws, you know, third-party interferences. So we try to, you know, to put checks and balances when it comes to third parties. And many other things that makes marriage fail, we also try to know how to maneuver around them. Yeah.
Njambi, what do you have to say on the same? What do you have to add?
I totally support that. So we have to work on it every day. And I think that, well, is a slogan for us is it's 100% my responsibility and 100% his responsibility. So we work towards, you know, completing it and completing, you know, each other. That if there is a hurdle, we deal with it together.
How in these 11 years, Chris, how would you describe Njambi now that you've lived with her? How would you describe her in the 11 years?
I would use the word pragmatic, meaning she knows what works and what doesn't work, and is able to change accordingly. Yeah, she knows the difference between the ideal and the real. You know, we usually say this: we live life as it is, not as it should be. Okay? We know there are things that should happen, dreams that we have in our, our innermost, those small dreams that we have, the kind of a husband she would have wanted, or the kind of wife I would want. There are those dreams that initially were there, but then sisi ndio tuko. That kind of a thing. So we are, she's very pragmatic. Sasa wewe juu ni wewe huko, naishi tu na wewe venye huko. Yes.
All right, Njambi, how would you describe Chris in these 11 years that you've been together?
Chris has been amazing. It's amazing. Award.
Mimi ndio niko.
Wewe ni wewe huko. Wewe ni wewe huko. Great with the boys. Oh my God. Amazing with me. He's a leader, and that has been translated even in our family. I've learned quite a lot from Chris, a lot, and I am truly blessed to have known him. He's able to train, like, of course every girl has that mindset when they are coming, and then now unaingia unapata ni wewe huko, and you have to adjust accordingly, and it has been an amazing journey. I would not change a thing. I wouldn't.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
all right. Now I'll ask you to use that camera, which is your camera, and give the young ladies who are aspiring to get married. For you, it's been 11 years and you guys look beautiful and
Thank you.
easy. That's the word I'll use to describe you. You're easy. No hurdles, just easy. So what's your parting shot to young girls or young ladies who want to get married? That's your camera.
I think what I would say is make the right decision for yourself, and carve out your own path together. Carve out your own path together with your spouse, and do everything from a point of love. Do everything from a point of love, and it's 100% your responsibility and 100% his responsibility. So yeah, and do your part and do your very best. Yes, and all the best.
All right. And Chris, what do you have to say to the young men who, cannot wait to get into marriage and they're thinking, sinkupata bibi and then I'm sorted for life?
My advice would be, do not get married. Usidhubutu. Do not get married yet. But if you do, I think for me it's a question of if you do, it's 100% commitment from both parties. We said this. It's a lifetime commitment. That's the first thing we talk about. It's more than a contract. Yeah, they call it a covenant. A covenant says that it's not just the two of you, there are other parties who are stakeholders to this particular marriage. So if you eventually get married, the first advice is you don't get married. But the second one, if you do, because I know you will end up getting married, is the realization that this thing, I have every intention and everything to make sure that it lasts for a lifetime. And knowing that, don't just be casual about it. Give it the attention and the seriousness that it deserves, because since you chose to get into it, you see, I had already warned you not to get into it. But because you got into it, then you have to pay the price it takes to take it for a lifetime. And that price is not cheap. It's very, very expensive. It's very, very demanding. It calls for exclusivity. It's exclusively between you and that one partner. It's not a public kind of a thing. You are not here to entertain other parties into your marriage. Those other parties might be other women, might be your own in-laws, or your own family, or the other in-laws. It is not a public thing. So if you do, it has to be exclusive and it has to be a lifetime commitment.
You guys are really easy. I'm enjoying this. They're just easy. One day wako. And on that note, we will end our show. And I'm so, what do I say, blessed by the ease in this relationship. And I've come to realize they are crediting it. What do I say? They are crediting it to the fact that they expect very little from each other. Like the expectations are really down to the minimal. So that's something to take home for me, and I hope for you viewer too, that it doesn't have to be a hassle to be together. 11 years together and pragmatic and sisi ndio tuko is the word to go home with.
Sisi si wa kamera. Ni zile za mwisho. Fagia.
These guys are hilarious. I wish we had more time, but that is it from me, your host, Viona Gedenji, and from our guests, Chris and Njambi Wainaina. And you guys, I can't but emphasize this enough. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jicho TV Kenya, and then follow us on the other platforms. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we also have Twitter. And from us and the crew, kwaheri, and thank you so much.